my name is Praveen and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel Java Fun. Today we're going to talk about prime numbers. Prime number is one of the most frequently asked Java interview question. This is not only asked at the beginners level, but people do ask this at the intermediate and the experience level as well. Recently, I have seen that interviewers basically do ask not only to check particular number is prime or not, but there are a couple of variations of this particular program as well that they do to ask. If you are basically able to perform or write a code to check particular number is prime or not, or to a particular series, they do ask some of the corollary questions regarding this one as well. So one of that corollary question is to print or calculate the sum of all the prime numbers from, let's say, 0 to 100 or 0 to 1000. So those kind of questions that basically coming nowadays in an interview for a programmers. So first today what we're going to do is we're going to find it out what exactly is a prime number, now how to implement a program to find it out the sum of all the prime numbers in a given series. Again, if you're coming to my channel for the first time, please do like, share and subscribe and press the notification icon as well. We have created lot many videos or the playlist entirely dedicated for the Java programming question. So go to my channel, find it out all those things that you will be that will be beneficial for you for preparing to your Java programming interview. So without further wasting so much time, let's find it out what exactly is a prime number. So prime number, according to Wikipedia definition, is a whole number which is basically greater than 1, and that number is basically only divisible by 1 and the number itself. So its only factors are 1 and the number itself. So what exactly is a factor? Factor is a whole number that can be divided evenly into another number. So one of the examples of the prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7. So if I take an example of 7, suppose, so 7 is only divisible by 1 and 7 itself. So if you take any other number, let's say 2 or 3, if you try to divide 7 by 2 or 3, you get a non-zero remainder. It means 2 or 3 is not able to equally divide, not able to fully divide number 7. So if I take another example of, let's say, 4, 4 can be divided by 2 and you'll get a remainder as 0. So 4 is not really a prime number, but 7 is. Again, whether 1 is prime number or not. So 1 is neither a prime number nor a composite number basically. So a lot of candidates do have this confusion. So 1 is not a prime number. Okay. Now let's say how to find out particular number is prime or not. So what will be an algorithm for this one? So basically what we're going to do is we're going to loop for a given number n. We're going to loop from, let's say, 2, because with 1 you can always divide that particular number, and with the number itself you can divide itself as well. So we don't need to include 1 and the number itself. So we'll loop from 2 to n minus 1, and then we'll find out whether do we find any number into that particular sequence by which if you divide that given number, if you get a non-zero remainder. Okay. So loop from 2 to n minus 1 with the index as I, and take a boolean parameter, let's say n mod I. If you get 0, then that number is not really a prime number, else number is prime. Okay. So let's take an example of 7 and loop basically 7 mod 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't get a non-zero remainder. So that's why 7 is a prime number. And if you take 4, loop from 2 to 3, you get basically a 0 remainder when you divide it by 2. So 4 is not really a prime number. Now what we're going to do is we need to find out all the prime numbers in a given sequence. So we see we need one loop if you want to find out if the single number is prime or not. But if you want to find it out in whole sequence, basically you need basically 2 loops. First loop is basically iterating over a sequence, and the inner loop is basically finding out for that particular number if that number is a prime or not. So inner for loop finding out whether the number is prime or not, and the outer loop is going through a sequence from, let's say, 1 to 100. Okay, this is inner loop, basically the same thing. Once you find it out, you get a 0 remainder. You just need to break the inner loop and come out of it, and then continue with the outer loop itself. Okay. And how we will find the sum of all prime numbers? We basically get another integer called sum, and when the moment you find a prime number, you just increase the sum with the that particular index, which is I for the outer for loop. So this will be more clearer when we go into the programming per se. So let's go and write some code. So what we'll do is we'll get the sequence or the limit for the sequence from user itself. So we'll get the user input. I say please enter the limit for the series. I say prime number series. Limit for the prime number series, and I get that input into, let's say, integer. I say number itself, or limit, let's say limit, sorry for that, let's say limit, and I initialize it with 0 first. Then we get a scanner object basically, which will be used for the reading the user input from the console. So I say new scanner, and I'll pass it on the standard input stream to it for reading the input, user input, and I initialize or reassign the limit with that user input. I say scanner dot next int. Now sorry, next, this should be next int. Now we need two different loops as we discussed, inner loop and the outer loop. Now let's take two different loops. Now outer loop will run from 2, because 1 is not really a prime number. It will run from 2, I is equal to 2 till I less than limit, okay, less than or equal to, and I plus plus inner for loop, let's say index as j. J will be again initialized to 2, j less than I, because we need to find out, inner for loop is basically finding out whether a given sequence, which is I, is prime or not. So j should be less than I, and here we'll check if I mod j, basically if that gives you a 0 remainder or not. Okay, so I mod j, and if this gives you a 0 remainder, then that is not really a prime number. So let's take one boolean variable as well. I say is prime, and I initialize this with true. So moment I get a 0 remainder, I basically, what I'll do is I'll basically reassign it to a false value. This we will basically, or let's initialize this inside the inner for loop itself. Okay, so this becomes a non-prime number, and then we no longer need to loop into the inner for loop. Now we'll come out of the inner for loop, and then what we'll say is, I say if I still say prime, if it is a prime number, then what we need to do is we need to sum it out. So let's get another variable called as sum. I initialize with 0 value. Then what I do is I say sum is equal to sum plus I. Okay, and after that we'll just print out the sum. So sum of all prime numbers are basically sum. If you want to print the prime number, I'll just print it out here. I'll say I is a prime number. Okay, let's see if this works. Just take a couple of seconds for it to compile, and I say limit for the series, I say suppose 10. Okay, so 2357 is a prime number, and if you calculate its sum, it correctly coming it as 17. So this program is really working. So let's give a bigger limit, and then we'll see if it works, still works or not. 100 still works, and the sum is getting calculated properly fine. So this is how you should be able to do it. This basically just summing it out the prime. So that's pretty much it from this particular program to find it out the sum of all the prime numbers. Do stay tuned and subscribe to my channel, because I have been bringing in lot many Java programming interview questions which gets asked in a in a programming stage of an interview, and I'm whatever you think about my particular teaching style or a tutorial style, please do put the comments onto the comment box. Your suggestions and the comments are most welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in.